in live.
And live.
Going
There's no
live and
countdown
live.
this week. We're just going for it. All right. That's right. Jump gate sequence activated. Pew-pew. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Zocalo. I'm Shar. That's Norm. And we talk about all things and anything related to Babylon 5. This week, we had a bit of a challenge for ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Top 5 and ranked quotes from the wonderful Jakar as portrayed by Andreas Katsulas.
Yeah, this was a tough one. This is a tough
Oh.
one. Well, first of all, one of the reasons I think why I think Jakar is like one of the easier characters to kind of like turn into a topic, but one of the harder characters to actually execute on the topics because he was given so much great material to work with. Andreas was given so much great material to work with. So, and not to say that, you know, the other characters didn't have great speeches or soliloquies or moments, because we can get to those later on.
Absolutely.
I've always felt that if Joe was broken up into the prism of his separate characters, I think that Jakar is probably the closest to his truest soul. I think.
Think so?
I think so. I
think it might be like the deepest part of his soul, if that makes any sense.
Well, there's a great evolution of Jakar from being a much angrier person to a farly like wizened person at the end of not at the end of his career or at the end of his life, but at the end of the 5-year time frame that we saw him develop and evolve and grow.
Yeah, and certainly Joe went through that evolution. So that is definitely a mirroring thing there, right?
Yeah, and I think that, you know, the more that I think about Joe's becoming Superman, the more I believe that I think his kind of, you know, I said everyone has their walkabout moment. I really do think that that's when, you know, Joe was nearly beaten to death in San Diego. I think that a lot of things came like into a certain kind of focus for him as he was healing and as he was
totally
kind of like contemplating like what the heck happened. Like, you know, like I was like this close to death.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
and, yeah, then you turn that anger into something more productive.
Yeah. So I think, you know, there's like, because, you know, Sheridan, you know, he was dead.
Yeah. You know,
came back
to
life.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when you do come close and have a near fatal experience like that, you do have a certain amount of fearlessness in a way, but at the same time, realize just how fragile and how mortal you really are at the same time, if that makes any sense. Because you've come this close, but you made it, and you realize just how short life is. I think it puts a certain drive and focus into you of, let's go. We don't know how long we've got left.
Well, you know, Char, looking at the amount of comments that are coming in, it's rare, and I think it's wonderful and incredibly humbling, and we're grateful that we have so many people in the chat room already. So I just wanted to say,
yeah, my goodness, let's say hello.
I say hello to BC. BC activated the jump gate sequence right before we jumped in, which is good.
Thank you for doing that.
We have Earl. What's up, Earl? How you doing?
Hello.
And we have
Super Dave. And we did switch spots. You know why? Because I got into the room first today.
That's right.
For once.
Whoever gets into the room first gets the, I guess it would be screen left.
Screen left.
Yep. And you know what? I'm really excited that we have so many people active on the Discord channel, which is fantastic.
Yeah, we've got a nice momentum going there. We have people coming in regularly. So those of you who are there, thank you. And if you aren't there and want to join in, I will fire up Discord right now and post an invite link. Please be aware if you're watching this a couple days later that this link may not be active after a certain point because they do expire.
Right.
So you can always hit us up on Twitter if you need an invite code. My handle is the Profanity, and Norm, you are
Lounge Lizard.
So you can hit us up for that, and you are more than welcome to come join us and discuss some B5 among other things.
Hey, Terry Lynn is here.
Hi, Terry Lynn.
Wait, okay, so did you read her comment? Isn't that weird?
She's watching Space Command live conference, just like you were doing yesterday, yes?
I just watched Space Command, not the live conference. I just watched Space Command.
Oh, okay. I thought you were watching the conference. Okay, my bad.
I didn't know what's the conference.
I don't know. I've obviously not been participating in that. There was also another thing this weekend through B5 events, sort of how there was the gathering with Claudia and Mira and Pat Tallman. She was hosting another thing with Bill Mooney and Peter Jurasik this weekend. And I intentionally did not buy a ticket because I thought I would have work interference this weekend. That got pushed back a week, and I ended up just getting too busy anyway for it. So if any of you participated in that yesterday, I'd love to know how that went.
Yeah, awesome. So we have a lot to talk about because we are using direct quotes or direct speeches or varying, examples in between of Jakar's greatest speeches. And we're even going to kind of take a look at their meanings as they apply maybe to how we see them 30 years from when they were first performed on Babylon 5, 25, 30 years from when they were first performed, and what they mean to us today and what they mean to you. And make sure that if you're listening, if you have a quote that we didn't get to towards the end of the show, please let us know so we can talk about that. But before we do that, Char, it's time to give our traditional toast.
Let's do that.
To all of our fans out there.
Yeah. Right. To all of you and to Jakar. And to Andreas, R.I.P. Valtu. Continuing the trend here of drinking water.
Me too. Coffee for me.
Coffee. That's good.
And that I've not been special coffee.
Completely sober through the month of June. Those of you who've been around for a while know that I was trying to cut out drinking for the month of June just to see if I'd feel, different, better, healthier. In the end, the answer's kind of been no overall.
Oh.
And I've had one drink on 2 occasions. No, not perfect, but definitely a reduction. And so I'll take that as a win. I mean, all right, cool. But yeah, overall, it hasn't done a whole lot for me, which I'm not sure what to think about that.
It may be doing more than you think. You may not.
I kind of hope so.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you may not see it immediately. You may not even feel it immediately, but somewhere along the line, I have to believe that the body is an interesting thing. It tends to heal in ways that you need it to heal, and
this is
at the
true.
Right times.
Maybe it's just not a long enough time, and I kind of want to keep going with the trend and just keep it on the low here. Once in a while is okay, but going crazy all the time. I mean, with quarantine, it was way too easy to just, hey, pour one, and why not, right? And so, nah, let's not. Let's be good.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, with all that, total tangent aside, we do not know each other's picks for our top 5 Jakar quotes.
Mm-mm.
And I ranked mine. Did you rank yours?
I sure did.
This was tough, man. I've got so many honorable mentions, and I would love for those of you in our audience to chime in with yours as we go along. So that will be super cool. Do you want to get started?
Let's do it. My number one has always been my number one. Always has been, always will be. So everything else kind of fell in line. Even my honorable mentions were tough, but my number one was never tough.
Yeah. All right. So shall we start with number 5 and then work our way up?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay. You want to go first?
No, you please have the honors.
Me? Oh, you want me to go first? Okay, that's fine. Yeah. That's fine. My number 5 comes from the episode The Long Twilight Struggle. Mm-hmm. And the quote is, "No dictator, no invader can hold an imprisoned population by force of arms forever. There is no greater power in the universe than the need for freedom. Against that power, tyrants and dictators cannot stand." Now, I did that no justice, but Andreas Katsulas sure did. And he gave those words so much power.
Absolutely. And let's to finish off that one, because I do have that as well.
Yeah, I had a feeling we might have some duplicates, and that's okay.
Yeah, the Centauri learned that lesson once. We will teach them the two and again. Although it take 1,000 years, we will be free.
Free. That's right. That's right.
That is a super powerful, super relevant quote. Don't you think?
100%. Yeah, it's absolutely true, right? Tyrants do not have power forever.
Right.
Eventually, people will revolt, and those tyrants will fall. Because freedom, above all else, I mean, I think it's maybe just an intrinsic desire within our souls. Mm-hmm. and you oppress that for so long, and people will fight back.
Well, the kind of like the operative words in this is an imprisoned population by force of arms. Force of arms is a very, very telling and very specific, phrase, especially for today, because we're seeing a lot of that happening in real time, where
Truth.
local, state, even and federal military are holding populations at bay by force of arms. But yes, as you've seen, people are putting themselves in harm's way because they believe that fighting for the independence of the message of freedom and equality and rights is greater than whatever whatever force of arms is going to be used against them. That's
right. So people are taking that risk because it matters that much.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm kicking it off with that one.
All right.
But is it your number 5, sir?
It is not. My number 5 it's a little on kind of a lot of my picks are a little on the religious soul searching side.
All right. I mean, that's kind of a profound thing just to begin with, right?
Yeah. As I'm usually want to do with Jakar, it's usually very introspective. So my number 5 comes from season 5.
Okay.
Meditations on the Abyss.
Okay.
And
I have this as an honorable mention. It did not make my top 5, but I think I know which quote you're going for.
So bear with me, folks, because it's a fairly large one, but it is a great speech.
Yeah.
If I take a lamp and shine it toward the wall, a bright spot will appear on the wall. The lamp is our search for truth, for understanding. Too often, we assume that the light on the wall is God, but the light is not the goal of the search. It is the result of the search. The more intense the search, the brighter the light on the wall. The brighter the light on the wall, the greater the sense of revelation upon seeing it. Similarly, someone who does not search, who does not bring a lantern, sees nothing. What we perceive as God is the byproduct of our search for God. It may simply be an appreciation of the light, pure and unblemished, not understanding that it comes from us. Sometimes we stand in front of the light and assume we are the center of the universe. God looks astonishingly like we do. Or we turn to look at our shadow and assume that all is darkness. If we allow ourselves to get in the way, we defeat the purpose, which is to use the light of our search to illuminate the wall in all its beauty and in all its flaws, and in so doing, better understand the world around us.
So good.
Right?
So good. Yes.
And I think that you can take the context of what he's saying here in a way of understanding how we are all trying to find or trying to stay away from this search for these very fleeting social media identities that people are trying to use to, I don't know, maybe justify exactly what they're supposed to be doing with their lives, advertising kind of like the influence of who they are and why they think they have influence over other people.
Projecting an image.
Right. And in a sense, projecting that light. So what are they seeing on the wall? Because the more that you gain followers, the more that you push your social media presence, sure, the light gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but what are you searching for?
Right. And what are you saying with your light? I didn't think of it in terms of a social media presence, but that's an interesting analogy to make. What I get out of this quote, as a non-religious person, but has a sense of spirituality, I see this as a very personalized, but very important factoid of the fact that we all have kind of this desire and this need to be searching for things that are bigger than ourselves. Sometimes it gets a little convoluted around the way, a la thinking the universe revolves around you because you've maybe drank your own Kool-Aid or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. Or you might have, maybe you're desiring like that greater fulfillment, whether it's just knowing that there's forces bigger than yourself outside the universe, or if there's strength coming from within that's reinforced by the light. There's you can interpret it in so many ways. It's a very personal thing, but you need to find some meaning with that.
And I like the juxtaposition of, if we look at the light and we believe that we're at the center of our universe, then behind us is darkness, because you can't not have a shadow if the light is being projected from you or standing in front of that projection, right? So
Right.
as no matter how bright your light may think, you may think it is, it's also casting this other negative effect on you or behind you, right?
That's right. Yin and yang, baby, right?
So yeah, it's that brightness comes with a price, and
Yes,
sometimes
it does, right?
right. And
Oh man, we see
sometimes
that all the time with people who maybe get a really big presence in the public eye and then something in their past comes to haunt them. Right?
right,
You
and
know?
the bigger your light shines, the more people are attracted to it. For whatever reason, they might be attracted, like Jakar's acolytes were attracted, or his followers were attracted. But then there are going to be those that wanted to judge you for for whatever reason. There will always be people who try and judge you for whatever you've said, or they'll find something that they remember you doing in the past, and then they'll start focusing on that. And then because you have illuminated yourself out to so many people, then they'll start casting aspersion on you, and that doubt is in the form of the shadow. And once you start sliding towards that dynamic, then sometimes all you're really now seeing is that shadow that you left behind you.
Yeah. Yeah. So much good stuff here. We could probably examine this one quote for the full hour, but in an effort to try and keep us moving, I want to jump to some comments if that's cool.
Absolutely, let's do it.
Okay, so we have plenty of folks saying flavored water, cutting out soda, doing healthier things in the time of quarantine when all we might want to do is drink. That's good. I'm glad you're all being healthier too. That's fantastic. Daniel Keller is here. Hello.
Hey, Bob.
And yes, Dave, the whole show is just full of quotables. I totally agree. Pretty much everything out of Jakar's mouth, though, could be considered a quotable because it's just so beautifully written and delivered. This was a big freaking problem for me as I tried to come up with my list. Let's see. This quote reminds Dave of the scene where Londo saw nothing when he looked up at Kosh at the end of season 2. Yeah, he didn't see anything. Maybe that's because the light's not on for Londo.
Or maybe because Londo thinks he is the light.
Maybe that too, right?
Because the Centauri believe that they are the center of the universe.
And if you're the emperor, you're the light, right?
Exactly. But the Centauri also kind of literally cast the largest shadow.
For real though, right?
Right?
Well done.
Well
done.
Believe me, when we go into, and Londo specifically, because he, in alliance with the shadows, he cast the largest shadow across the universe.
Certainly.
Because of his desire to become the light.
Right. Yeah, I say this about Londo a lot, but I'll say it again, but especially when he's talking with Mr. Morden. Morden asked him, what does he want? He wants nothing but power and greatness and doesn't think at all about what it will mean to get there. And it's only until he knows that he's damned into that greatness and becoming the emperor, what a price that everybody is paying for that desire. And he doesn't even want it by the time he gets it because it's that bad.
We are all damned.
Yes. Yeah. Or as Delenn said in War Without End, the price, the terrible, terrible price.
Oh, so good, right?
Yes. Earl also chimes in and says, kind of goes into the need to step back from the tendency to make oneself the hero of one's own narrative. You know what? Absolutely. It's good to occasionally think, you know what? I might have effed up. A little humbleness. It's not a bad thing. It's not valued very much right now by a lot of people because we can't be wrong, right? We can't be begging for forgiveness. We can't say that we've made mistakes. We just move on for it as if it didn't happen. No, there's something really good about humility and moving from that and learning from that.
There's a part of me that actually really enjoys kind of the way that they were deconstructing Sheridan's legacy and deconstruction of Falling Stars, because not every single person is going to be on board with Sheridan's legacy, the mythology.
Sure.
And one point in time, I know that he was being manipulated by Bester, but Garibaldi was that guy. He's like, he can't be walking on water all the time,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, yeah. Garibaldi's the one who brought out that phrase, cult of personality, and if you think about people on Earth who maybe have not seen Voice of the Resistance, have no idea really who Sheridan is, if you see the ISN report and they're telling you that Sheridan has Minbari War syndrome, where he's become kind of the Stockholm syndrome victim here, sympathizing with the aliens, you're probably going to believe it because you have no other frame of reference, right? So not everybody was on Team Sheridan here. Garibaldi was simply that force that we saw in our world with Sheridan as the hero of the narrative that we got. But that wasn't the case for everybody.
Well,
yeah. Okay. Shall we go on to Norm 4?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is one I've brought up, I think a couple of times in the last few weeks, but I'm going to do it again. So deal with it. It's our show. This comes from the very end of Zahadum, and it is, Jaquan wrote, "There is a greater darkness than the one we fight. It is the darkness of the soul that has lost its way. The war we fight is not against powers and principalities. It is against chaos and despair. Greater than the depth of flesh is the death of hope, the death of dreams. Against this peril, we can never surrender. The future is all around us, waiting in moments of transition, to be born in moments of revelation. No one knows the shape of that future or where it will take us. We know only that it is born in pain." God, the first time I heard that, I was blown away.
Yep. And the kind of like the whole montage sequence that went along with that was
it was beautiful,
phenomenal. And that was my number 4 as well.
Oh, well then.
Yeah.
We'll just kill it all here.
Yep. Well, there's the cream rises to the top very quickly with G'Kar, right? I mean, there are certain.
Well, there's certain notables, aren't there?
Yeah, and they're very powerful moments. There are moments that actually shape kind of like the narrative and put a huge punctuation on certain points, certain key points, through the course of the 5 years. This being one of them.
And I do think Joe very intentionally would give G'Kar the big bites that he really wanted to emphasize.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
I think so. And I mean, let's take a look at kind of like deeper into this quote. There is a greater darkness than the one we fight. And he's talking kind of like this, the darkness of the shadows that is rising, the darkness of kind of like the war that is about to happen, but it's the darkness of losing oneself to despair, right? It's the darkness of losing hope.
Precisely. Yeah, that's even worse than fighting the shadows, as if you feel powerless to even fight against them, then there's nothing left. And that is far worse.
There was an episode of Highlander that I watched, and one of the immortals said, did you know Mencius? And he goes, student of Confucius. And he goes, yeah. He goes, Mencius said that, let me see if I can get this right. He said that I do not fear death, but there are things that I fear more than death. That is why I cannot avoid danger. Right? So, or there are reasons why that I cannot avoid danger, something to that effect. Because what we're talking about is there's a fear of losing honor. There's a fear of losing hope. There's a fear of losing the light, the goodness in you, because what are you afraid of when you stand up against darkness? And that's kind of like going back to what you said with, no dictator, no invader can hold an imprisoned population by force of arms forever, because there's going to be a point in time where the people will be like, I am not afraid to die for this cause.
Right. When you've got nothing else to lose. But that also takes a lot of courage to work up to that point, right?
Right. And these are those moments of transition when people find the courage to stand up and fight back. The future is all around us, moments of transition, to be born in moments of revelation. The revelation is finding the courage to say, you know what? I would rather sacrifice this before I lose this. Because losing this, it's damnation for my own soul.
Right.
right?
Yeah, and that's I think for a lot of us is too much of a price to pay. We can't live with that.
Right.
So then the other option becomes clear.
There is also kind of, it feeds into the the old axiom that I become, it's like, if I do nothing, then that is just the same as doing something evil if I don't stand against it.
Right?
Right.
The whole thing about silence is complicity. We've been hearing that a lot on social media, but it's true.
Yeah. That's, oh my gosh, they're all all these work together.
It's all so relevant, man. Woo, life. Well, how about we jump back into the comments between rounds and let's see. Earl's got some good stuff here. He says, I've been thinking about Londo's answer to that question lately. I think this is going back to previous round here. I want it all back the way that it was in terms of people wanting that in the here and now. Yeah, I think that's the whole, kind of like make America great again kind of thing.
Yeah.
Some weird, twisted version of the past that people idealize that may or may not have existed. But boy, look at what the price we're paying for that.
I mean, you understand, like, with Londo, you can understand, like, there's a part of this entire republic that he wants back. He wants that legacy back. He wants that the fire that was in the republic. He wants he wants them to be the glory and the going out there and conquering the galaxy. But
right,
along
he
with
wants
that,
the greatness and the glory, and we're number one. We're number one.
And I think he's doing that patriotically. But at the same time, though, that goes with probably the one cost that we're really talking about here, going back to your first quote, is basically the subjugation and the annihilation of the Narn people. Right?
Yeah. Right? So there's that price.
Exactly. If he wants that glory back, then he everything, all those trappings that went along with that, conquering universes or conquering planets or annihilating entire, races of people like the Narn, that's what he wants back too, in a way.
Exactly. And just, wow, that says a lot, doesn't it? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Terry Lynn has a mantra in the comments, but we're going to have to hold that thought for a second. And instead, here's a great side one, which I didn't put it on my list, but now I kind of wish I had because I love this moment. And I believe it might have been, I forget where it was from. It was from, I think, one of the later productions, but it's where Jakar says, love to stay, can't, gotta go, kiss, kiss, love, love, bye, bye. And then he just, it's like a mic drop and he walks off and everybody's just watching him leave the room because it's a bunch of ambassadors or whatnot on his ship. Where's that from, guys? I forget. I haven't watched it in a while.
Yeah.
It was one of the movies, maybe, I think, because I wanted to say Lost Tales, but no, that couldn't have been.
He wasn't in Lost Tales.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, we're due for round 3, shall we?
Quote the third. We'll see where we are with this.
Okay, so I told you to hold that thought, Terry, because my third pick is from Messages from Earth, where Jakar's in the prison, and he says, in here, Mr. Garibaldi, you cannot hide from yourself. Everything out there has only one purpose, to distract us from ourselves, from what is truly important. There are no distractions in here. You can learn much from silence.
Yep.
Again, the first time I heard that, it got me so hard.
I'm not going to tell you where that falls into my list, but it's in my list.
You're not?
Like, I mean, it's not. It's higher than yours on my list.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I do have it. This is one of my favorite quotes of all time. I put this on memes on my social media. Especially now, because what I love about this quote is that if you've ever really, really turned everything off, like Sheridan said, like turn off everything, too much damn noise.
Too much damn noise. Yes.
If you turn everything off, like just don't and detoxify yourself from social media, from being online, from everything, and just kind of like meditate and sit in silence, some of that is amazing and some of that is absolutely terrifying, right?
Absolutely. You know what, though? Introspection is such a good thing to put yourself through, for better and worse, because you're going to learn so much about yourself
Right.
in that time and place. You have to be willing to face all of it.
And
And
that's
in that kind of position where you have no choice, Jakar is taking that as an opportunity and writing it all down. And then look at what happens.
Mhm.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and this is kind of the Nelson Mandela-esque, part of his character where he's beginning to write like his own manifesto, like as one is to do, I guess,
Mhm.
when you're alone with your thoughts. And he's trying and especially he's alone with his thoughts after, he assaulted Londo when he was hopped up on dust, and he had that revelation with his father saying that, it's like, you can't it's the whole point of you doing what you need to do is because you need to save our people. You're going to have to sacrifice everything in order for our people to live. You have to do this.
Yeah.
And that's when he hit his walkabout rock bottom. And now, after that, he's incarcerated only with his thoughts to keep him company and what he has done, but more importantly, what he has to do, right?
Yeah.
And that's where he's sorting out, and this is his transitional point. This is where he turns from, raging warrior Jakar to a more enlightened, introspective, philosophical Jakar, trying
Yep.
to find a way to take all of that inner strength and point it into the energies of what he needs to do to save the Narn people from what's happening with the Centauri at this time,
Yeah. Again,
right?
taking that anger and rage and resentment, because Jakar early on he wants revenge and really not a whole lot else
Mm,
against the Centauri for what they've done to his people. Now, this is the transition. He turns that anger into something more constructive
yeah,
that lives on.
absolutely.
It's good stuff. I love that quote so much. What's your third pick?
All right, so my third pick is, again, it's a little easy to pick, but I think it's so powerful. It's the Alliance preamble to the Declaration of Principles.
Okay, this is on my list too, and it's in fact, it's up there.
Okay, so this is from Paragon of Animals. This is at the very end, before he rewrites it.
We have to get them to sign him again.
Again. The universe speaks in many languages, but only one voice. The language is not Narn or human or Centauri or game or Minbari. It speaks in the language of hope. It speaks in the language of trust. It speaks in the language of strength and the language of compassion. It is the language of the heart and the language of the soul. But always it is the same voice. It is the voice of our ancestors speaking through us, and the voice of our inheritors waiting to be born. The small, still voice that says, "We are one. No matter the blood, no matter the skin, no matter the world, no matter the star, we are one. No matter the pain, no matter the darkness, no matter the loss, no matter the fear, we are one. Here, gathered together in common cause, we begin to realize this singular truth and this singular rule that we must be kind to one another, because each voice enriches us and ennobles us, and each voice lost diminishes us. We are the voice of the universe, the soul of creation, the fire that will light the way to a better future. We are one." And
Yeah, that's
Joe
good
wrote
shit.
that shit.
It's just so freaking good. I mean, really, if you've got to break down the meaning of life, this is a really good one to go by.
I mean, that's as deeply philosophical of anything that Joe's ever written, that I've ever read, that I can put up on a pedestal and not have any competition against from a philosophical point of view. You know,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's a very Roddenberry-esque sensibility to it, right? We're talking about the inclusion of diversity, and the exclusion of voices diminishes that diversity, right? We all
Yeah.
come from, and if this is of your faith, then it is. If it's not, it's not. But I believe what Jakar is saying here, that we all come from this giant big bang of matter in the universe. We're all related in that way. Star stuff, the way that Delenn says that,
Absolutely.
we are the universe made manifest. There's a huge theme about that in Babylon 5. And that's what he's trying to disseminate here, where it doesn't matter your shape, doesn't matter your language, your culture, it doesn't matter your belief, is that we're all that culture, we're all that belief, we are all that voice, and we are all that that connected. And
right.
If we are diminished, then we're all diminished. If we are, if we move forward as one, we all move forward together. So
yeah. And if we all could collectively agree that, yes, we are the universe made manifest, and we would work more together rather than trying to divide ourselves by differences and hatred, imagine what we could get done.
Imagine that.
Right? That'd be so nice. Yeah. Okay. So,
should we
third round is done already. I'm looking at the comments. The kiss kiss line is from Legend of the Rangers. I knew it was a latter work. It wasn't season 1, but it sounds like it could be a season 1 thing that G'Kar would say, just because G'Kar had a little more of a flamboyant attitude in that first season. But it was Legend of the Rangers. I know that for sure now.
Yeah.
Also, Earl says, what was in Legend of the Rangers? 3,800 utterances. If we live for the one, we die for the one. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And there's some good quotes in here, which I think are going to come up at some point in the show. So I'll kind of maybe leave them off for the time being. But this is good stuff, guys. Yes. Okay. Round 2.
So I'm going to, because I want to get to more quotes, I'm going to supplement some of the ones that have been agreed upon.
Oh,
by you.
Okay.
And
all right.
Yeah. But my number one. That
sounds good.
My number one will never change. I'm just saying that some of these are also
all right. Fair enough.
honorable mention.
Okay. Well, as we delve into number 2, this is one that we haven't tackled yet, and it is perhaps one of my absolute very favorites. It's one of the things that hooked me into Babylon 5 from the get-go. It's from the episode Mind War, and it's very short. No one here is exactly as they appear.
Mm-hmm. Love that. I love that.
Yep. That hit me like a ton of bricks the first time I heard it. Just like, oh, damn. Yeah. To my 17-year-old brain who had never heard that before, that was profound.
This is like right after the thing about the ant, right?
Yes, it's that conversation with Sakai. Yes.
Yeah. What is that? Points up at the sky.
Yeah, I was tempted to do the whole thing about the ant and whatnot, but no, this is really the heart of the matter here. So I just went for this line, and I mean, it's true. Delenn also expands upon this one where she says, hey, we put on our masks, right? When we go out, we play a role. We are a certain thing. We are a certain being to other people and our roles in society and whatnot. Who are you without that mask? That's why I want to watch you sleep at night, John. So, so another big common theme throughout Babylon 5. Very important, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that was done in season 1, but it kind of resonates and ripples through every season because everyone
100%.
changes. Everyone isn't what they appear to be either now or later, right?
It's like the story proves how true this line is.
I mean, think about some of the big things that the real big revelations that we never saw coming. I mean, Lanier's betrayal on Sheridan, right?
Right.
I mean, and how like Londo set up the fact that whatever Lanier said, his reputation is beyond reproach. If he found something and he saw it, that means he did. I know Lanier, right?
And then, and then for him to betray.
Right.
Beyond the shock and his whole life at that point. Yeah. I mean, I know that's not a very popular thing with the audience at large. I mean, I think a lot of people disliked that thing, that incident.
I like the fact when that happened that no character in this story is beyond making a mistake.
That's right. Yeah, nobody's perfect at all in this universe, just like the rest of us. Right. Yeah. So what's your number 2?
So number 2 is something that people actually have been posting here in the comments. So
Okay.
it does come from, and I'll tip my hand a little bit. The last two come from the same episode. So
Okay.
so my number 2 comes from Objects in Motion,
Okay. I know which one it is, and it's on my list too.
and it is, I believe that when we leave a place, part of it goes with us and part of it remains. Go anywhere on the station when it is quiet and just listen. After a while, you will hear the echoes of all of our conversations, every thought and word we've exchanged. Long after we are gone, our voices will linger in these walls for as long as this place remains. But I will admit the part of me that is going will very much miss the part of you that is staying.
Doesn't that just make you want to go on the station and just sit in the Zocalo in the middle of the night?
Think about that. Just like when, and it goes back to the one, the scene where he is sitting in silence with his thoughts. He says, go anywhere on the station when it is quiet and just listen. Just listen.
Listen.
Right?
Keyword.
And that's what made Jakar such a transformed character, is that before the incident with the dust, all he did was react. Right?
Right.
All he did was act on anger, on fear, on hatred. He wanted to get his, he wanted to get his pound of Centauri flesh in the form of Londo.
Yeah.
But after that, though, he had to listen to the needs of his people. He had to listen to what their future needed and put aside himself and just sit there and listen and learn and grow. And that's why I love this quote, because it's not about just, lamenting the fact that you're going to leave and someone's going to stay and you're going to miss people. It's about what you're leaving behind. You're leaving behind this legacy of words, of thoughts, of emotions, of spirit, and it's going to stay there, right? I think that's like something that's very powerful amongst Babylon 5 fans, is that we know this series so intimately that when we left and when the series was over for us, we return because those voices are still there. Those emotions are still there. We can always go back to an episode and feel exactly the same way we felt about this episode when we first saw it, and maybe more so as we've gained experience through life. And
100%.
that's kind of like going back to, an old apartment, or going back to an old place that you love to eat, an old neighborhood. You're still there. Right?
Yeah, there's a part of yourself that remembers all those experiences that never completely left. I also love the fact that this quote opens up Lost Tales.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then you get that nice thundering music. I think you can find it on YouTube if you... Yeah, that gets me going. That's good shit.
Yeah. I love the new credits for Lost Tales. I'm like, new credit sequence.
Oh, I know, it's so nice. Yeah, and speaking of CGI, I mean, you really can see just how much CGI had progressed as the 2000s went along. Just how good it looked. The Babylon Station. Oh, my heart.
I know, right? Let's do Lost Tales for the next
so
show.
Good.
Let's do Lost Tales from the next show so we can watch it again.
Let's watch Lost Tales. Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
down.
Next show. All right.
Let's do that. I love Lost Tales. I think it's highly underrated. But I'm just a big fan of like kind of the theatrics of a situation. People say it's a little too stripped down. I just love it. I love watching them talk.
Yeah.
I'm totally cool with that. I don't need any massive set dressing. No.
Nobody writes talking heads better than Joe. Nobody.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
I mean, think about, and we always go back to this. I mean, think about, intersections in real time.
Yeah.
That's like a lost tale, right? It's just a room and two people.
Exactly. Yeah. And think about how well that was done. If you have some actors of that caliber, magic happens, man.
So good.
So good. All right. Well, we are on to number 1 picks. Yes?
Yes, but let's go through one more round of what's going on with the comments.
Let's check that out.
So we did get to the quote that people like Super Dave was asking about.
Yes.
That.
A lot of people
Terry
quoting that.
asked about that. Yeah. And okay.
Let's see. Oh, BC has a good one about no one here. You know what? I don't like the revised version that Andreas re-recorded for the season 5 intro either. I feel like the first time it just flows way better because it's almost like he went a little too high with his voice in the re-recording, and it just nah.
What if it was taken from like a different take for that scene? You know?
Well, I think what happened is they actually had him re-record the line, and then they inserted it into the credits. He wasn't completely happy with that line as delivered, and he wanted to pump it up a little bit, but it doesn't work for me. I think it was fine just the way it was.
Yeah, I'll have to listen to those back to back for sure.
Yeah, definitely do. I mean, there's a difference. You'll notice it. Let's see. Dave says CGI, you could tell it got better. I mean, yeah, it looked fine in season 1, but you can just tell with each season, they really got better and better and better. By season 4, it still looks great today. Those battle sequences, especially, top notch.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the big things, friends that have said, I can't get past the CGI in Babylon 5. Like that's the reason why I can't get into the show.
I'm like, that a lot.
Guys, come on. It's like
just shut it. Stop.
That's not a valid excuse anymore. Knowing the
it's
stuff
really
that you've
not
seen before. Like,
yeah, don't come for the CGI. Come for the storytelling, and then eventually everything else is going to win you over, no matter how you feel about the CGI. So just shut it.
I would rather have him say, like, you know what? I just don't get it. I don't dig it. I'm like, fine. You don't get it. You don't dig it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
You know what? There's perfectly well-made shows where I feel that way too. And you know what? That's okay. It just wasn't for me. Doesn't mean it's bad. Just don't care for it. Terry Lynn has a great quote that I'm just going to throw in for the funsies of it, because this is on my honorable mentions. The universe is run by the complex interweaving of 3 elements: energy, matter, and enlightened self-interest.
It's so true.
It's so true.
I love that. Yeah.
Yep, that's good stuff.
Sure. All right.
Okay.
Jashar.
Well, number 1, this might be a little bit of a letdown because we've already done it. It's the Declaration of Principles. These are words to live by. That's my number 1. That's why it is my number 1.
Yeah, I completely see that. And I'm sorry that I stole that from you.
Oh, no, that's quite all right. I kind of figured at some point it was going to be on your list. No need to apologize for stealing it. It's just that good.
And
so how about I throw in another I just suddenly can't talk. How about if I throw in another honorable mention?
Do it.
Let's see. What have we got here? How about... Oh, here's a good one. It's a short one, too. And it's from the episode Epiphanies. Mm-hmm. I have seen what power costs, and I've seen what power does. The one is never equal to the other.
I was thinking about that, too.
Hey, Londo, you listening?
Right. And that is true, gosh, at every level. Because it's essentially kind of like that the Faustian mythology deal, or the deal with the devil, which is what Londo did, right? He sold his soul to the devil for power, and he goes, I've seen what power does, and destroyed Narn, and I've seen what power costs, and it destroyed Narn, but it also destroyed a lot of other people in the process of getting 100%. That power.
Yeah, power is a very fickle mistress.
Yeah,
and a lot of people don't use it properly. A lot of time, the people who want the power should not have the power.
And in the end, Londo had all the power and no choice.
Yeah, not a good trade-off, I don't think.
No, well, the thing is with power is that people think that they can control it, but it's really a thinly veiled belief, because power ultimately controls you.
100%. You can also translate that to the addiction process, where you have an unhealthy coping mechanism that you think you can control that's going to help you feel better, but in the end, it will rule your life if you let it go on long enough and you don't break that cycle. Mm-hmm. Garibaldi.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Terry Lynn says, I like this one too. Before I speak, remember our thoughts form the universe. They always matter. I love that. I've mentioned that
Yes,
before.
That's a very good one. That's also on my honorable mentions. It almost made my top 5.
Super
so
Dave,
tough, you guys. It was painstaking.
Super Dave said, the Earthers have a saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I believe they stole it from us.
That's a good one. Oh, here's a random one I just thought of. As the humans say, up yours. I love that whole scene, right? Where he and Londo are stuck together in the lift with no hope of getting out, it seems.
That's one of their pinnacle scenes. But I also love One of my favorite scenes is when, he's cooking dinner and he's singing, I'm thinking of calling her right after my afternoon nap.
So many fishes
left in the sea, so many fishes and none left for me. This is Ambassador Jakar's table. This is Ambassador Jakar's dinner. What about this equation escapes you?
I love just how pissy he gets about it all.
He is. He's right in the middle of eating. So,
so good. So good. They really should have let Andreas sing more.
Right. He was so good at it. So good at it. Okay. So,
well, now you're number one. It's your turn. You're up.
I'm pretty sure you can guess this one for me. It's my number one. It always has been. Always will be. And this comes from Objects in Motion. Again, I said this is two. My top two come from the same episode. We are all the sum of our tears. Too little and the ground is not fertile, and nothing can grow there. Too much, the best of us is washed away. That to me is kind of like, it's the pinnacle of, I think what Jakar has gone through in his life, and what a lot of people go through in their lives. Because when you think about it, we don't really talk about, it's like, think about it in the alternate term. We're all the sum of our laughs or our joys. We never really talk about that, right?
You're right. Yes.
We always talk about like when somebody dies or passes on or goes beyond the rim, we only talk about like the tragedy of it at the time, but we never really talk about the summation of all the happiness and all the blessings that came throughout the course of that life. So
yeah, it's hard to do that in the moment of grief, right? Which is why we focus on, oh my God, I can't believe this person is gone. Sad, sad, sad. But if I can use a Dr. Seuss quote, don't be sad. Be glad that it happened. I mean, it's basically like, think about the good. Think about the wonderful memories you have.
And this here, because Joe's really economical about his writing, and not in a, I don't get paid by the word kind of way about it. It's just he can strike at the heart of something in a word or in a line or in a sentence.
Yeah.
And what he's saying here is that if our tears aren't enough, it means that there's something inside us. The cynicism inside of us doesn't allow us to be a very spiritually connected person, because our heart is so hard, like Londo, right? That you can't experience the true joy of something because you're always behind this defense mechanism of a very hard heart, a very cynical way of looking at the world. So nothing grows inside of you. Everything is somewhat stagnated, right?
Yeah.
Nothing can grow there. Relationships don't grow. Emotions don't grow. Emotional attachments don't grow. Feelings don't grow. Care doesn't grow. Love doesn't grow. But at the same time, though, if you shed too many tears, it means that whatever of that emotional content is within you, you're not reserving any of that for yourself. You're giving away too much of yourself because you care maybe too much, and you're offering too much of yourself and not being true to who you are and maintaining that center for yourself, so you can do other things and help things grow as well. Right.
Right. It's kind of like that cliche of you have to love yourself before you can love others.
Right. You have to know that about you. You just can't grieve for everything, and your heart just can't break for everybody. You have to find these right moments where you can let people in and not be too cynical, or you can make sure that you're not giving too much of your own time and your own spirit and your own passion to somebody else, because you're going to remove that from yourself. You're going to rob yourself of that ability.
Right. It takes a wise person to direct your energy to the things that you value the most, right?
Right.
I feel like that's a constant struggle too, because there's just so much bombarding us on a daily basis in our lives, no matter who we are and what we're doing. everybody wants our attention. Everybody wants us to care about this, that, and the other thing. And there's so many things going around in our world. And yes, there's a lot of horrible things that are happening. People experiencing injustice left and right, people dying, just the horrible atrocities all over the place, right? Mm-hmm. But damn, breath, one moment at a time.
And I think a lot of what the top quotes that we've chosen, they all are related in some way, because one of the things that at least I come away with taking all of these in context is there is something to be said about quieting your mind and finding the truth, that light that you're projecting on the wall, trying to find and seek out that truth based on the silence of looking for what is meaningful to you, and not going one direction and being too cynical about the world, and not going in another direction and being too complacent about everything.
Right. You know, that makes me think of a Sheridan quote, which is, fight for what you believe in. Mm-hmm. You've got to find that cause and you've got to fight for it. You've got to, invest yourself in it. But be careful what it is, right?
Right. But if you're going to do it, you have to do it with everything you got. But you can't give that to every cause. And I think that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah. You got to choose wisely.
Right. So
yeah.
The grander scale of this last quote, again, it goes to the heart of how fucking superior Joe is as a writer, because he says so much with so little.
Yes.
I could talk about this in context of the entirety of the series. I could filibuster this for days.
Oh, we know you could, Norm, and you'd be great at it.
But that's why it's my favorite, and it always has been, because it's so simple. It's the old axiom of it drills down an inch wide but a mile deep.
I love it. It's so true, though. I mean, it really kind of hits a place in the heart, doesn't it?
Yeah. So,
that's good stuff.
You got
good
a question
choice
from Terry Lynn there, Shar.
I got what now?
You have a question from Terry
Lynn.
Oh,
do I? Where's it at? Let me scroll up here. I think I'm a little behind. How has the world changed? There are always terrible things in the world to change. This is true. Maybe it just feels like a lot of change because you're present in it in the moment. But the whole world has had its upheavals, no matter when you're living, where you're living, right? Something is always happening. It's not this static thing, and then all of a sudden there's an uproar. That's a very good point to make.
Right. It's all about the context, right? She follows it up with something great here. So how does it feel to make history? You don't make history, you can only hope to survive it.
Oh, I was going to put that at the very end of our show as my last honorable mention, because that's such a great line.
She's stealing your notes.
That's okay. It's just great minds thinking alike, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
So Earl, I love his comment about he confesses that he sings the fishy song to his cats on tuna days. My kitties get certain tuna days too, and you know what? I might just have to borrow that little idea from you. I don't think they'd like me singing though.
After my afternoon nap. Now it's stuck in my head. Damn.
Let's see. What else have we got in the comments as we start wrapping up the show here? Oh, Earl has a great comment about the B5. Thank you for mentioning that.
Oh, yeah.
Now, have you heard the album that they did?
I don't have it. No, I haven't heard it.
Okay. So for those of you who do not know, after B5 was over, Claudia Christian, Mira Furlan, Andreas Katsulas, Bill Mumy,
Peter,
did an album called the BE5, producing a variety of songs, all a little different, featuring them in different instances. And Andreas is great in there. And everybody kind of gets their little moment to shine. There's some ensemble pieces. There's a couple of where that's just a solo here and there. It's really different. It was not, of course, a smashing commercial success or anything, but if you're a B5 fan, check it out. It's on YouTube. You can listen to it.
Nice. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Earl also adds he does an awesome job of singing the blues. I agree. Andreas, he would know how to sing the blues, wouldn't he? I mean, you can't just know why those words were picked. You have to know how to sing them, why you should sing them that way. Like, blues is a very intricate art.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's fantastic. I'm definitely going to look that up later. So, you know, we could probably do this for every character, and maybe we will. Maybe we'll do a series of this every so often.
I'm thinking over time. I mean, we could do Ivanova quotes, Sheridan quotes, Sinclair quotes, Delenn quotes, you name it.
Right. So I think that
Absolutely.
maybe it's something that we can do and slide in for later. But for next week, for those of you who want to do your homework and be part of the conversation on a deeper level, we are going to review Babylon 5, The Lost Tales, the last on-screen work of the Babylon 5 cast proper. And that's right?
Yeah, that's some super stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So wrapping up with any comments,
Oh, we don't have enough time in the universe for Zathra's favorite quotes.
Terry, I don't know what you're apologizing for, but you don't need to. You're fine.
I said stealing your notes.
No apology necessary. Earl, I could also see Andreas maybe singing at a convention, like at a bar in a convention in Jakar costume singing the blues. Would that not have been amazing while he was alive?
With a cigarette.
Of course. Yeah, but that would have been something else. Oh, you guys, this has been so much fun. This was a really good solid hour.
For sure. And it's I love looking at quotes because quotes are kind of like a roadmap to episodes that you love, character moments that you love, and just being able to revisit, parts of the series that are like really, really super meaningful. And they will always change with every character. I mean, they will always change,
Totally.
Obviously, there's only one. Well, that's not fair to say. There's more than one season with Sinclair in it. But for the majority of his great lines are in season 1, right?
Yeah, yes. Oh, we do have one more honorable mention we have to get out. And they made a very satisfying thump when they hit the floor.
Oh, yes, the Red Knight. Yes. Very satisfying thump.
I enjoy that scene where they're just so drunk and enjoying themselves. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Great stuff.
All right, you guys. Well, that's been it. The conversation can continue in the Discord server if you so choose. And the invite link is in the chat comments. It's earlier in the show. So if you want to join us and you haven't already, please hit that up and join in. All B5 fans are welcome.
Yeah, and everyone that's been participating in Discord, thanks so much. If you have friends that want to talk about Babylon 5 and all the extra channels that we have there for a variety of different topics to talk about, please do that too.
Absolutely. Okay. So
here we go.
Take us out.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Make sure that if you liked our show to hit the subscribe button. That allows the algorithm to know that it will help you search the Babylon 5 content out there and make sure that you have the notification bell turned on as well so that it tells you when our show is posted, especially for people who are watching this after the fact, which is too bad because this was a really good conversation. And then
yes,
all of our contact information is below on the show notes. You can find Shar online at your handle.
Yeah. Twitter, it's Oh the Profanity. And yes, I'm on the Discord server there too, as Oh the Profanity.
And you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Lounge Lizard. And you can find me there also, the same handle on Discord. So next week's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody. Really great show. It went by so quickly. It went faster than I thought it would.
Seriously, it flew by. Thank you for all of your wonderful comments. You guys are great. Thank you again for joining us. You make our Sunday afternoon such a joy.
So until next show, be seeing you.
Bye, everybody. Take care.